set for the Rangers and the Nashville Predators. Closed captioning tonight is brought to you by the New York Lottery. Get out and play. Here's Dan Girardi. Good to see him back on the ice. Feeling good this morning. We saw him in the morning skate. Missed 5 games with a knee injury, but seemed to be skating freely and very comfortably out there.
Well, he feels good, Sam. You know, when you have a cracked kneecap, and again, we've seen Dan Girardi for 10 years. He's missed, what, a handful of games?
Right.
With the way he plays, and for him to miss games, you know that he was in a tremendous amount of pain.
And Girardi back with the captain, Ryan McDonough as a pair. Stepan Kreider and Foss the line for the Rangers. Derek Stepan dumping it in, his 4th game back since returning from his rib injury. Back the other way. Forced out of the zone by Stepan. That's Ekholm. That's Matthias Ekholm, the defenseman number 14, who was checking Derek Stepan. Mike Ribeiro is on, number 63. Philip Forsberg, number 9, just going off as Nashville changes. Rangers have brought on Brassard, Zuccarello, and Nash, with Yandel and Kevin Klein back against the team for which he played for parts of 9 seasons. This is where he started his NHL career, and he was drafted here in this building by the Nashville Predators.
That's him. He had offense to his game in junior hockey, but they didn't need it here because of the group of defensemen they had. So he learned to play against top players in the game defensively, and he's turned himself into a better all-around player, and we've seen that since he's become a member of the Rangers.
Girardi back on, takes over. Kevin Hayes has come on. Oscar Lindberg on the left. JT Miller on the right. Pecorine out to play the glass. It's carried out of the zone. Mike Fisher, number 12, dropping it off. Colin Wilson's pass for Fisher, carried into the corner. Fisher, another one of those valuable players. We talk about Derek Stepan being out, but Fisher missed 11 games, and the Predators went 4-5-2 without him.
Yeah, Sam, he does so much. He plays on the power play. He kills penalties. There's a bouncing puck that shot in, and Lundqvist was able to gobble that one up.
The starting lineups are brought to you by Infinity, luxury cars that deliver inspired performance. See the 4th line of Glassmore and Stallberg. Emerson Edom is a healthy scratch, as is Dylan McElrath. There's the Nashville lineups. Cody Hodgson is out for the first time this season. He hasn't been as productive as they had hoped.
Now, he's playing on the wing.
Face-off win, a shot by Seth Jones, and a glove save by Lundqvist, and he holds it.
Well, Seth Jones is another one. We talked about Yossi and Shea Weber, but Jones is just a 21-year-old, and this kid has a tremendous future. Right off the face-off, they win it, but that's an easy save for Lundqvist, as they did a good job in front of him, keeping that area clean.
Mark Stahl on the ice. That shot saved by Lundqvist. That one goes wide. As Barrett Jackman took the last shot that missed the net. Jones is a terrific skater, as Joe mentioned, just 21 years old, right now going through a scoring drought. Dominic Moore with a good play in the takeaway, but then Jackman, the veteran defenseman, the former St. Louis Blue, able to recover. Stahl and Klein are paired on defense here. Ellis playing it ahead. Ryan Ellis, number 4. Stepan swings it around to Dan Boyle, and here's Keith Yandel. Boyle and Yandel, the pair. Yandel with a good rush up the ice. Takes it deep and shoots off the side of the net. Being checked by Austin Watson, who's in the lineup for Nashville, a former first-round draft pick in 2010.
Damn, you know, we talked about this defense, this group of defense for Nashville, 2nd overall in scoring in the National Hockey League. Dallas is 1st, but guess who's 3rd? The Rangers.
That's it.
So the Rangers aren't far behind as far as points.
Yeah, well, that's so much a part of their game, is moving the puck quickly up the ice. That pass up the ice. James Neal forced back by Zuccarello. Puck sent in. Lundqvist steers around to McDonough. Try to keep it moving. Was blocked along the boards by Salomaki, number 20. Mika Salomaki. Rangers have Brassard, Nash, and Zuccarello. Here's Yossi in deep, controlling. Salomaki with a shot saved by Lundqvist. Through traffic, tough save.
All set up by the skating and puck handling ability of Yossi.
Dropped back. Girardi's feed is to Nash. The backhander goes wide. McDonough comes down to get it. Lost his edge. Might have been accidentally tripped up by James Neal. Salomaki carries. Neal holds the blue line. The feed across the Weber. Big shot and a save by Lundqvist.
Boy, Weber took advantage of McDonough moving to the middle to chase Neal. That left some room on the right side. And Shea Weber just stepped into the open lane, got the puck, and what a save.
Swung around to Barrett Jackman. J.P. Miller after him, got a piece of him, forced the turnover. Hayes gave it back to Backman. To Jackman, excuse me. Barrett Jackman. Off the glass. And recovered and carried around the board. Stahl with a good check. Played across to Seth Jones. Wrist shot, deflected away. There's Colin Wilson in front, number 33 for Nashville. His pass blocked by Dan Boyle. Fisher tried to play it. Rangers take it back. And Miller chips it off the boards, up in the air, bounces down, controlled by Jackman. Outlet to Colin Wilson. Wilson by himself, a good shot and a save by Lundqvist. Nashville shooting the puck. Barrow in on the forecheck.
Yeah, they played a couple of nights ago, so the Rangers haven't played, didn't skate much during the break. Right. So I think it's going to take them a while to kind of get their sea legs.
Good hustle by Dominic Moore, negated what would have been an icing.
Yeah, he's got his.
Yeah. Rangers' first game since last Tuesday. Moore in deep and around the net. Checked there by Ellis. Moore tries the other side, picked up by Ekholm. Moore controlling, fires in front. Shot by Girardi, a save by Rinne. Oh, all created by Dominic Moore. Glass swings it around. Girardi back to Tanner Glass. Girardi in deep. Throws it on goal. It's gloved by Pekka Rinne, who stops play. Good play by Girardi.
Girardi a couple of times got involved. Now Ribeiro and Stahlberg getting involved, but Girardi jumped in. Will get this chance, and Pekka Rinne makes a beautiful save. Comes all the way through, and Girardi, the quick shot. Rinne was there, and then Girardi again. Here it is again, another look at that same play, and Rinne does a nice job coming over for the save.
6:05 gone by in the first. There's no score.
Lineup, isn't it, Sam?
Absolutely.
I think that even with the team playing well and not playing well, the one player that's been, I think, their most consistent defenseman has been Kevin Klein, and he was sorely missed for those 11 games.
If there's one thing that the coaches talked about that stands out coming back from the Christmas break, it's stability. Stability in the forward line, stability on defense, and Klein and certainly Girardi as well bring that stability. Paul Gaustad swings it around for Austin Watson. Watson, number 51. Eric Nystrom, number 24, on for Nashville. Yandel holds, waits, and finds Klein off the boards to step on. And
that'll be an icing. Stepan didn't realize that his line mates were making a change.
Friday night on MSG, what happens when the world's greatest performers respond to a tragedy? Go inside 12-12-12, the concert for Sandy relief on the Garden's Defining Moments, presented by SAP. That's Friday night, 11:30, following the Knicks and the Bulls on MSG Network. Gaustad steps in. Face-off controlled by the Predators. Yossi with a wrist shot that was blocked by Stepan, who plays the puck and lost it to Salomaki. Out to Weber, backhands it deep. Played back to Weber, quickly across to Yossi. Back to Shea Weber. Out for James Neal, and he missed. Wow, that was some good passing. Looked like a set play out there as Neal circled the ice. And Weber hit him with a good pass. Klein trying to play it. Up the boards, Weber again. That shot kicked away with the left pad. Great save by Lundqvist. Now brought down by Roman Josi. And a save by Lundqvist. Nashville with 9 shots on goal.
Well, what happened on this, remember, the Rangers wanted to make a line change, and Stepan didn't realize his 2 line mates had left the ice. He thought he had a wing on the board, so he iced it. So that allowed Nashville to get 5 healthy players out there, and out there they attack as 5. And when you've got Josi back there making plays, I mean, they just attack. There's Josi here. Boy, he loves to skate, handle the puck. He becomes such a dangerous player. And Weber over on the other side, they're 2 players that are difficult to stop. 27 points between the 2 of them in the month of December.
The only guy who got in the way is number 2, who's Erik Karlsson, who leads all defensemen in the NHL in overall scoring for the season. Zuccarello. Nice pass through to Mark Stahl. Stahl with a wrister that's gloved by Pekka Rinne. Rangers' second shot on goal. The head coach had a good morning skate. And I think he's looking forward to some practices now that the schedule is going to lighten up a little bit.
Well, I think the other thing is, too, and he told John Giannone on the pregame show that, you know, the fact that they had 4 days without skating, felt that was really beneficial to his team with the schedule. And he thought they were fatigued both mentally and physically, and just to give them a rest. He liked what he saw yesterday at practice. He had them out on the ice again this morning, which is unusual to practice 2 consecutive days. But because they didn't skate, he wanted them out there. He likes their jump, their enthusiasm, and their readiness to get playing again.
And they'll probably have a skate tomorrow, a practice here in Nashville before flying to Tampa for a game Wednesday night. Hayes to Miller. JT Miller moves in, winds it around, and blocks Rinne's pass. The net was empty for a moment. Help came in the form of Paul Gaustad.
This is the kid line for the Rangers on the ice. They want to try and keep this line together. Alain Vigneault had a little discussion with the 3 of them at the morning skate. If you mentioned stability, Sam, they want to keep those lines together as much as possible, which they feel will help their overall game.
And that line is Hayes, Miller, and Lindbergh. They've changed. Stolberg, the former Nashville Predator, in deep. Girardi goes to get it, winds it past Tanner Glass. Rangers' 4th line tonight, Dominic Moore, Tanner Glass, and Victor Stolberg. That shot by Philip Forsberg is a save by Lundqvist, and he holds it. Peter Laviolette's in his 2nd year as head coach of the Nashville Predators. He won a Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes. Longtime head coach in the NHL. He's one of the best.
Yeah, 2nd year here now. They had a tremendous start to the season, and this is something that we've had to discuss because of the Rangers' start this year. But they started off last year 29-9-4, and they were right up there at the top of the league. And then they finished 18-16-6, and they didn't have any confidence, and a lot of confidence going into the playoffs, and lost in the first round to Chicago, the eventual Stanley Cup winner. But they went through a long period of time of trying to find their game. Pekka Rinne got hurt in goal. Hurt his knee, not badly, but enough to miss some games, and he was never able to find his game again. And this is a team that I think they need scoring up front. It's a team that they get all that offense from their defense, including that man right there, Ryan Ellis. But they need, I think, a little bit more scoring up front. They've got some good young players, but not a real threat to score a lot of goals from the forwards.
James Neal was the man brought in to be a big scorer in the big trade they made with Pittsburgh a couple of years ago. That shot blocked on the way in. A backhander blocked again. Played by Salomaki. Now Neal, another block. Rangers, one of the top teams in the league in blocked shots.
Number 3 coming into this game.
Up the boards to Chris Kreider. He's bumped there by Ekholm. But able to work it ahead and out of the zone. Stepan Kreider and Fost, the Rangers lineup, coming down to the midway point of this first period. And Nashville has had 11 shots on goal in the first 10 minutes of the game. Rangers only 2.
Yeah, Lundqvist has been sharp. He's made some key saves. Shea Weber in particular early on. And again, I think that this is a period that the Rangers just need to survive. You go back to the last 7 games, and Nashville has outscored their opposition 10-3 in first period. So the fact that they played a game, and then the Rangers trying to get their legs after having time off, just get through this first period, Sam. I think it's important.
Klein, Forsberg on him, up the boards, kept in by the Predators. Then the outlet to Rick Nash, who breaks loose. Picked up by Roman Josi, gets the shut-off save, rebound by Nash, hit the outside of the net. Oh, great rush up the ice. Rick Nash found his legs.
Yeah, sure did. And that was a very good outlet pass from Kevin Klein to Spring Nash.
Good burst and a good follow-up after Rene made a good save on Nash's first shot. That pass was tipped and taken away by Colin Wilson. And taken back by Kevin Hayes. 9 minutes to go, first period. No score in the game. A collision there. Barrett Jackman and JT Miller. Lindbergh cutting in, double team. Miller helps out. Now Kevin Hayes. Hayes checked by Seth Jones. Miller. McDonough winds it to Oscar Lindbergh. Lindbergh keeps it alive along the boards. Miller keeps it moving. It's checked by Mike Fisher. And Jones has it. Seth Jones has gone 19 games without a point. Colin Wilson fires. That's deflected by Dan Boyle. Out of play it goes. 8:23 to go first period. Rangers and Predators, no score. John Giannone, a seat between the benches. We thought, no, we'll put him in the crowd instead. Here's John.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good spot, Sam. I'm able to see right down the chute to the Rangers defensive zone. What I've noticed the Predators are doing when they set up in that offensive zone, they are planting a guy right in front of Henrik Lundqvist and cruising another guy through. You like to hear coaches say things like take the goaltender's eyes away. Clearly, that's what the Predators are trying to do, and they've got, 11 shots on goal so far in the first period. The other thing I noticed, real jump in the legs from Victor Stahlberg, who was a healthy scratch a couple times, of course, had a checkered history here last year. We'll talk to him between periods 1 and 2 about that. Also, the guys back in the studio, Ron Duguay and Anson Carter, share all your questions and information and thoughts with everyone on Twitter. Use the hashtag NYR on MSG, guys.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, good observation by John on it. This Nashville team, they attack with 5 players. I mean, they get everybody involved in the offense. As far as Stahlberg is concerned, one of the reasons he's back in the lineup is because Emerson Edom doesn't kill penalties. And so they just felt this has been a power play. It's been really good. 10 power play goals for Nashville in December. They thought they might need that extra penalty killer.
Makes sense. Jackman off the boards to Salomaki. In front, it's fanned on by Jarnkrok. Kalle Jarnkrok had a chance with Lundqvist out of position, but he missed it.
What a chance, too. That deflected off a stick to Jarnkrok.
Connor Glass swept out of the zone. Rangers recover. Stahl has it.
Boy, did Tanner Glass ever take a run at Seth Jones. Good, clean, hard hit.
Off the boards, Eric Nystrom. Joe talked about the Nashville team getting off to a great start. They were 11-3-3, but since that point, over the last 18 games, they've gone 6-9-3, and a lot of those games without Mike Fisher. He's an important part of this team. And they are 5th in the Central Division. Here's Paul Gaustad. It's taken away by Dan Boyle. The quick outlet. Pass across for Mark Stahl, taken back by Shea Weber. Torello and Brassard on with Chris Kreider. Mark Stahl. Rangers complete a line change. Kreider tips it into the Nashville zone. Rangers only 4 shots on goal. One thing about the game against Anaheim prior to the Christmas break, the Rangers winning that game 3-2, coaches were very happy with the way the Rangers defended in that game. Didn't give up many chances at all.
They gave up 6 quality scoring chances in that game, which was an all-time low for this coaching staff with the Rangers.
Carried in deep by Ekholm, but he lost it. McDonough up the board, stopped by Ribeiro. That drive missed wide, bangs off the end board. Kreider chips it out. Mattias Ekholm with Jesper Fast on the forecheck. Ekholm moving up slowly. Rangers have been rolling the four lines steadily and have Hayes, Miller, and Lindberg on. Wilson moves it out for Mike Fisher. His pass was broken up by McDonough. Fisher has it back, try to make a move on Hayes. JT Miller takes over. Lindberg after the puck. Eric Jackson wraps him up. Evan Hayes has gone 15 games without a goal. Working against Seth Jones. Now Yandel sets up Boyle. Shot blocked. Didn't get it cleanly. And cleared out by Arvidsson.
Well, Arvidsson made a good play, though, Sam. His timing was right on the block of the shot. And meanwhile, prior to that, Nashville, they've had some chances here in the first period. Here's the opportunity for Järnkrok there. Is just wide open in front after that puck deflected off a stick. And then here's the hit by Tanner Glass. Ooh, hard hit. Tanner Glass gets up. So does Seth Jones. Kind of looked at him and said, all right, I'm just going to go back to my position.
I'll remember.
I'll remember, but I don't want to deal with you. Right. Seth Jones is not known to be the pugilistic type of player, even though he plays hard. You don't want to fool around with Tanner Glass if you're not. You got to be in the proper mood and then have to have the proper ability.
Yandel slides it to the line, kept in on the takeaway. The shot went wide by James Neal. Dangerous man to give the puck up to. Neal leads Nashville with 13 goals. Boyle able to work it ahead for Nash, who deflected it out. Brassard moves across with Zuccarello. Pass through to Nash. He shoots high and wide. Off the corner glass, brought out by Järnkrok. Yossi with a long shot, saved by Lundqvist. Yossi has it back, sets up Shea Weber, and that's blocked by Tanner Glass. 2-on-1. Brassard at the end of the shift. Long shot missed wide. Zuccarello is there. And it's lifted out by Salomaki. 4:20 to go in the first period. Rangers have been outshot 12-4, but the Predators have had only one shot on goal over the last 6 or 7 minutes, so Rangers have settled in defensively. Ekholm fell down as he played it across. Ribeiro is tied up by Dominic Moore. Set up to Ekholm, and Kreider got a piece of that. Rangers getting in the shooting lanes. Kevin Klein lifts it down the ice. Tried to alley-oop to Kreider, and Pekka Rinne was able to play it away from Kreider. There's a giveaway to Dominic Moore. Kreider just blows past everyone when he's in full stride. Rinne with a save. The rebound was batted down by Dominic Moore and stopped.
I think Dominic Moore's been the best Ranger in this period, maybe other than Lundqvist.
Pass through to Lindberg, trying to get it to Fast. The clearing attempt stopped by Girardi. Here's Lindberg. His shot blocked. McDonough from the line. A deflection and a skate save by Rinne, and he covers up. Now the Rangers starting to get some chances. 3:10 to go in the first. No score.
Sam, you mentioned it earlier, the record with Nashville when he's out of the lineup, not nearly as good. That's Mike Fisher. He does so many things for this team. He's got a hard-nosed edge to his game. He's their second-line center. He goes to the net. He can score goals. He's one of those players that he's an important part of their power play because he does that type of thing. And their penalty killing has really gone down since he was out of the lineup as well. Important player.
He probably takes all his teammates to his wife's concerts. For those who don't know, he's married to the great Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, they're a little busy with that 10-month. They got a 10-month-old boy, so that's they went on a little trip during Christmas to see all the relatives. And he said the 10-month-old did just fine.
There you go. Rick Nash playing it off the boards for Zuccarello. That's an offside on the Rangers. 2:45 to go here in the first period. Saturday night on MSG, the Rangers take on the Florida Panthers. Live coverage begins at 6:30 with Visa Rangers game night. Rangers and Panthers Saturday night on MSG. Panthers right now are the second hottest team in the league. There's Washington and there's Florida. Florida's won 6 in a row, and they're in first place in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, boy, I tell you, they got the young Barkov back in the lineup. Remember, he wasn't in the lineup when we were there? Yeah, they got him back, and that's a young team that's got some veterans that are helping out. One's really old. Still doing okay, even after losing 4 teeth the other night.
Oh, man, they are really playing well.
And they're getting the goaltending. Roberto Luongo is giving them the goaltending they need. So it's a balanced team, and their young players are starting to come through for them.
Well, it's just a strange sight. You look at the standings, and there's Florida first place. Montreal has dropped to third.
Well, Montreal has lost, 11 of 12 now, I believe.
Yeah. Nice move by Fisher out of the zone. Moves in on Boyle. That shot gloved by Lundqvist, and he holds it. 13 shots on goal for Nashville. No score. Let's check out the Kia Conference standings. We were talking about it. There's the Metropolitan Division. Rangers 10 points behind Washington now, and Washington with a couple of games in hand. They've won 7 in a row. The Islanders right behind. Florida, Detroit, and Montreal. Look at that. There are 2 points separating 5 teams in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah. It's really tightened up. Tampa Bay starting to play a little bit better, and of course the Rangers play there on Wednesday night. And Boston now has lost 3 in a row after having a real good stretch.
A shot off the side of the net. Might have been deflected in front. Neal playing it back. Tampa Bay right now, you mentioned Tampa Bay, Joe, they're not in playoff position.
No, but they're slowly climbing. You know, there's been all this talk about Steven Stamkos, which I think has been a distraction for that team, but I think they're finally just kind of getting over that. Stamkos had 2 more goals the other night, now has 16 on the season.
That game Wednesday night will be on NBC Sportsnet at 8 p.m. and when it's over, we'll have complete post-game coverage on MSG. So turn over to that. Bill Pito will be anchoring. Steve Valiquette, Ron Duguay, John Giannone will be covering at the game. Good play by Lundqvist with a stick on the play from behind the net by James Neal. A bouncer that's gloved by Rene.
Well, his goaltending's been good.
Yes.
We talked about at the top, but this has been real good. Now the Rangers are going to be penalized. It's going to be a roughing call against Derek Brassard. The one constant that we've seen in this first period as far as matchups has been Shea Weber and Roman Josi out on the ice against that Brassard line. That is the one. Every shift they've been out there against each other. There's a little bit of a slash and then a little bit of a late hit, and so Brassard reacted to that. There was Salomaki with the play on Brassard, and so this hot power play for Nashville goes to work.
First penalty of the game. Brassard for roughing at 18:33.
13 power plays for these 2 defensemen for Nashville. Power play goals, pardon me.
Shea Weber with 8 amongst the league leaders. That shot blocked in front, and it hurt McDonough. He's hurt. He may have caught it in the left hand. That shot score! Oh! What a setup. What a release by Philip Forsberg. And the first mistake of the game. Rangers take a penalty, and they pay for it.
This power play now, 11 power play goals in the month of December. That's over 25%. And McDonough does a really nice job first blocking that. That hurt him. And able to recover the puck was Nashville. And this is just a gorgeous pass all the way across. And Philip Forsberg, who's been their hottest forward as far as scoring goals, has now scored 3 consecutive goals for Nashville. And that outstanding young player gets number 10 on the season. He had just 2 goals in his first 21 games and now has 8 goals in his last 15, this being the 15th.
And he had the 2 goals the other night. in the loss to Detroit, the 3-2 loss. He scored both Nashville goals. Under a minute to go here in the first period. Forsberg gets the goal, his 10th. As the Predators capitalize on the power play opportunity. 53.7 seconds to go in the period. Nashville out shooting the Rangers 15-6. Ekholm blocked. Nash trying to take it away from Neal, was able to clear it out. Roman Josi gets an assist at 18:56.
That's 91 points now for this group of defensemen for Nashville. Trailing only the Dallas Stars have 93 points as far as their group of defensemen are concerned. What a gorgeous pass, huh, Sam? I mean, that's what Josi can do. He can shoot it, and he can pass it, as we just saw there. That was just a spectacular cross-ice pass. And that quick release, that sneaky shot that Forsberg has. Lundqvist didn't have a chance to stop that.
Colin Wilson, pass tip. Forsberg chases it down, takes a hit from Dan Boyle. And the chant of Lundqvist, and Lundqvist covers up in the crease with 15 seconds remaining in the period. Well, the fans get into it here.
Well, they do, and they're getting ready for the All-Star game, which is going to be played at the end of January. This city is, the players love playing here, love living here. They've done a nice job supporting this team. It's a good team. David Boyle, the general manager, has done a wonderful job of growing this team, and they are a good hockey team. Like I said before, I think they certainly need another scorer up front.
Yeah, especially if they're going to get by teams like Chicago and St. Louis
in the West
division.
Yeah.
7.6 seconds to go in this first period. The Rangers haven't had much sustained offensive zone time. They've had a couple of brief chances, brief flurries of opportunities. One that was set up by Dominic Moore, and another one with Rick Nash. But not much sustained offense for the Rangers in the game thus far. Icing on the Rangers, but the horn sounds ending the first period. So, Nashville with 15 shots on goal. Rangers, for the most part, did a good job defending, but the Rangers took a penalty, and Nashville made them pay.
Yeah, Brassard's actually having a word with the referee right now, and the referee made the move. He says you put your arm around his neck and pulled him down and pushed him down, and that's a penalty. So the Rangers nearly survived that first period, and I think that they'll come out, Sam, after finally playing their first period in a while. And I think they'll have more jump in the second. We'll see.
Coming up, it's the Delta First Intermission Report. John Giannone will rejoin us, and his special guest will be the former Nashville Predator, Victor Stallberg. We'll go back to the studios at MSG. Bill Pito has the Audi MSG 150. Ron Duguay and Anson Carter in the studio with highlights and analysis, all coming up on the Delta Intermission Report. Rangers and Nashville Predators. One period gone by. Predators lead it 1-0.
The New York Rangers Intermission Report is presented by Delta. The timely information you need with the Fly Delta app. Delta, keep
We are back in Nashville, getting set for the second period. Rangers and the Nashville Predators. New York Rangers hockey on MSG is presented by Chase. A good look at the city. Take us through that only goal of the game so far, Joe.
Well, this is our Volvo Telestrator, Sam. What happens is you've got Josi over here, and now you've got Weber up here, and so Dominic Moore has to keep an eye on him. But as you'll see, this man right here is James Neal. When he comes across, this will be a perfect pass to the other side. I mean, this is textbook. The Rangers took a bad penalty. You'll see, here comes the cross. Neal comes through. Josi's timing couldn't have been better. There's the pass and the one-timer from the hottest scorer up front Forsberg for Nashville, and that quickly into the net, and that's the only goal of the period. And the Rangers just about got through that period, Sam.
Yeah.
That's a bad penalty for Brassard to take. You know, that late after what had been a period where you're trying to get through it, stay even, and then gets restarted in the second period. But instead, they start the second period trailing by a goal.
Roman Josi, one of the leaders in scoring on this Nashville Predators team. The Stars have the most points from the defense. Predators second, and the Rangers third. Nashville leading with 27 goals from the defense. Weber and Josi have 19 of those goals. Underway second period. Stepan, Fast, and Kreider, Girardi, and McDonough for the Rangers. McDonough blocked that shot late in the first period. He seems fine. Stepan with a shot that missed the net. Around the boards, pinching in. Girardi keeps it in. Stepan's got it. Mike Fisher wraps him up. Ellis able to move it ahead. And Arvidsson challenges McDonough. McDonough takes over. Gets some space, gets some help from Jesper Fast, digging for the puck. The puck pops loose. Nash is back there. Arvidsson for Nashville, along with Colin Wilson. And Nash able to come away with the puck. Then he is picked off on the play by Järnkrok. Josi in deep against Stepan. Josi maintains possession. He's strong on his skates. Salomaki gets it back from James Neal, leaves it for Neal on a give and go. Out to Weber, now to Roman Josi. The shot save made by Lundqvist.
Boy, oh boy, what a shift to start this period by Nashville. You know, we talked about a little bit earlier in the game, Sam. This is a Nashville team that, you know, you talk about a style of play, it's aggressive. Just play, go, get everybody involved in the play, get those defensemen moving up on the play. And so they play everything as five, and it's a pressure game where when you get the puck, you have to try to move it quickly if you can. If you do, then you can get them caught, and that'll lead to some scoring chances. But if you don't make the first good play and get past that aggressiveness, then you're going to have a long night.
Gaustad against Brassard. Gaustad wins it back. The shot by Josi hit his own man, Eric Nystrom. And Brassard leaves it in the corner for Kevin Klein.
And Josi and Weber stay on the ice to go against the Brassard line.
Good pass through to Brassard from Mark Stahl. Brassard waits, finds the trailer. Klein, shot blocked by Nystrom. Recovered by Stahl. In the first period, the Rangers were credited with 9 blocked shots. Nashville with 2. Dan Boyle, 4 blocks. Rene able to play it around the boards, and it comes out of the zone, recovered by Dan Boyle.
Well, the other thing is this, Sam. The Rangers had just 2 forwards that had shots on goal in that first period. Nash had 2, and Jesper Fast had the other 1. And so they're going to have to get more forwards involved and more pucks to the net. And it's a difficult thing to do. Nashville's one of the best teams in the league as far as preventing shots. They only give up about 26 a game.
That pass ahead to Forsberg, with good job on him by Yandel. Lindbergh lifts it into the Nashville zone, and it's whistled down for an offside. 2:35 gone by here in the second.
Well, part of the aggressiveness of Nashville is getting players to the front. So they do everything with 5, but they make sure that when those defensemen can really shoot it, just look at the number of players. It's 2 players on all those replays. 2 of the Nashville players that were in the direct line of sight. Then you add the defenders that are trying to get those players out of the way. And now you're looking at 3, 4, or even more players that the goaltender, Henrik Lundqvist, has to try and see through and around those players in order to make a save.
They brought the faceoff back deep into the Rangers zone. I'm not sure why. The linesman explained it to Henrik Lundqvist. Takeaway by Craig Smith, and the shot saved by Lundqvist.
Sam, that was offside, but the pass came from the defending zone. So if it comes from your own zone, even though it happened way down the other end, then it comes back into deep into your zone. That's why they had the face-off there.
Kevin Klein bangs it off the boards. Rangers move it to Victor Stallberg, who couldn't handle the pass. And it's cleared out. Barrett Jackman lost it to Stallberg. Klein down the boards, past Brassard.
John Giannone, by the way, taught me that rule, so give credit where it's due. Thank you, John.
I'm sitting with the rule book in front of him. Jackman, Barrett Jackman, playing it across. Seth Jones. McDonough. Salomaki on him. McDonough with a good pass. Rangers break out. Brassard to Nash. Nash moves in and shoots. Glove save by Rinne. And he holds it. Not many second chances for the Rangers in this game. 3:50 gone by here in the second. Saturday on MSG. Get all the latest Rangers insight, Islanders insight, Devils insight. Go around the NHL on an all-new Hockey Night Live presented by Geico. That's Saturday night, 9:30, right after the Rangers and the Florida Panthers on MSG. Stepan Kreider and Fost out for the Rangers. Fans react as Ellis was taken down on the play. Rangers take it away, then it's cleared out. Wilson for Ellis. Ryan Ellis into the middle, and the shot went wide by Arvidsson. It was a good setup. Kreider dumps it in for Fost. Fost into the corner. Stepan turns, looks, and that was broken up by Mike Fisher. Boyle plays it back deep to the goaltender, and Henrik Lundqvist swings it around the boards. It's a heads-up play by the veteran Dan Boyle. Fost with Salomaki on him, up the board, stopped by James Neal. Neal checked by Oscar Lindberg, and the Rangers come out. Fost slides it in. Rangers change. And only one penalty in the game. That was for the Rangers, Derek Brassard. Clearing attempt went off of Hayes, but played by Klein. It's whistled for a hand pass on the Rangers. 5:01 gone by here in the second period. The upcoming schedule brought to you by Lexus, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Rangers. Wednesday night, Rangers in Tampa, 8 p.m. on NBC Sportsnet, ESPN New York Radio, and following the game, post-game coverage on MSG. Saturday night on MSG at Florida, then back home next Tuesday. First time we get a look at the Dallas Stars, the #1 team in the NHL.
Don't blink when they have the puck. We mentioned that they're Dallas Stars defense #1 in the league in scoring. They also, you talk about a lineup up front.
How about the two top scorers? Well, yeah, 2 and 3.
Jamie Benn, 49 points. Tyler Seguin, 47. They're 2 and 3 in the league. Boy, oh boy, can they go.
Dallas Stars with 57 points. #1 in the NHL. Dumped in by JT Miller. Pecorine out to get it.
Tell you what, Jimmy Neal knows how to put a team together, doesn't he? All those years he spent in Detroit, now is in his second year with Dallas, and they're already, if not the best, they're certainly one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the game. And points-wise, they certainly are.
He probably never got enough credit for the work he did in Detroit. He was a behind-the-scenes guy. Ken Holland did a great job as the general manager.
Who always gave him credit was Ken Holland. Because he believes so much, and you do things as a team, as a group, and get everyone involved, and you get good people, listen to all of them, and so that's what makes Ken Holland one of the best general managers in the game, is because his ability to get good people and then use them properly.
Both these teams are defending well. Not a whole lot of scoring chances here in the second period, and in the game the Rangers haven't had many. Clearing attempt by Austin Watson. Roman Josi, nice play by Zuccarello. Zuccarello back pass. Played by Dominic Moore. That goes all the way down on the deflection, turns into an icing on the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, we talked last game against Anaheim where the Rangers defense was very physical. And here's a good play by McDonough. Oh, even though he got his looked like he got his hands up right into the head or the face of Mike Ribeiro. Nothing called on that play.
I think one arm got him underneath the shoulder. Long shot by Girardi, deflected, goes off the glass. Not much getting through. Jesper Fast. That deflects into the corner. Paul Gaustad tried to play it. Jay Weber's clearing 10th, stopped by Fast. Rangers doing a good job here on the forecheck. Kreider. Fast in front. Girardi, quick shot. Score! Dan Girardi. What a release.
And I think Fast deflected it.
He
Sam.
may have, yes.
I think he just got a piece of it. Now, the key was for Girardi is just to shoot the puck right away and not wait for anybody, and that's what he did. The good forecheck. Foss gets it in deep. They keep moving it around. Now, here's the pass from Kreider. Look how quickly. Shoot it. And it looked to me like Foss just gets a piece of it and deflects it in. Oh, right there. That's a beautiful redirection by Jesper Fast. And the Rangers score an important goal to make it 1-1.
Good job on the forecheck by that entire line of Stepan, Kreider, and Fast. And they turned it into a goal. Girardi making a big play. Offside whistled. So with 7:06 gone by in the second period, Jesper Fast goal has tied it at 1.
Now the Rangers come back to tie this game at a goal apiece. Jesper Fast. Now this is just a simple play of make a play and then don't stand and watch. Put yourself in a position. That's Fast up there. He'll end up with the puck. Eventually he gets it in deep and then he just goes back to the front of the net. Puts himself in a position where the defender can't defend. He's got his stick on the ice. So he makes a play up high, goes to the net, and is the recipient of the good low shot by Dan Girardi. The deflection ties it at 1.
I think everyone really contributed on that goal. Good work in the zone. Assist from Girardi and Kreider at 6:59. Jesper Fast with his 6th of the season, his 3rd over the last 10 games. 7:20 gone by in this second period. Only 2 shots on goal for each team. We talked about the chances being cut down. Moore was tied up with Mike Fisher. The puck lifted back. Racing for it is Arvidsson. He gets there to negate the icing. Wilson with a back pass. Jackman's shot blocked in front. Fisher's shot goes over the top and off the glass. Arvidsson checked by Klein. Wilson to Fisher. Fisher checked by Yandel. Tanner Glass playing it back to Kevin Klein. Nice return to the lineup for Dan Girardi. Skating well, gets involved offensively, picks up an assist on the goal.
Well, of those shots that the Rangers had in the first period, Dan Girardi had 2 of them. We saw him go to the net a few times, defended well, so he looks much healthier than he did prior to the Christmas break.
Icing whistled on the Rangers. Here's tonight's Cadillac trivia question. Which 2 current NHL head coaches have played for the New York Rangers? One of them is in the building. That's your hint for the night. Oscar Lindberg. And that's a whistle down for an icing on the Rangers.
Yeah, that's another thing that Nashville can do. This pressure they put on, this pressure system under Peter Laviolette, it's all over the ice. So they don't want you to get to the red line. So they put pressure and they force you to move the puck. And if you don't have enough time to look up and make a play, it's going to lead to icings, as we just saw.
Barrett
Jackman waits, shoots, saved by Lundqvist. Long rebound. Is cleared out of the zone by J.T. Miller. Seth Jones pressured by Kevin Hayes. Good play by Hayes. Miller in the corner. Pumps with Barrett Jackman, who went down. Quick shot off the side of the net by Lindberg.
Well, what a play. J.T. Miller. Big, strong play on Jackman. He's not easy to knock off the puck, and then Jackman comes right back to him.
Miller's playing real strong. Lindberg is there. Away with the puck. Ribeiro able to move it up to Philip Forsberg. Forsberg with Craig Smith. Back to Forsberg. In deep against Zuccarello. He stays right with him. Backhander by Weber, blocked in front. Chance, loose puck, Rangers cleared aside. Nash moves in. Got the shot off. It was deflected by Roman Josi and gloved by Pekka Rinne.
Well, we're going to take a look at the last Ranger chance from our Buick RoboCam. And JT Miller told us he just wants to be noticed every game. Part of that is the physical play. Here it is again. Boom. Hard hit against Jackman. He's able to get the puck. And a chance for Oscar Lindberg, who just fires wide on the short side.
The RoboCam replay brought to you by the new Buick. Buick, your kind of luxury. Nash with a chance. He went down hard in front. The shot was blocked. Nash heads to the bench. Stays on here. As the Rangers regain possession. Rangers move in. Brassard to Zuccarello. The setup for Boyle, and that shot was going high, but Rinne gloved it and holds it with 10:15 to go here in the second period.
Well, the Rangers are starting to do a better job at moving the puck quickly, and then that second pass is made quickly as well, and that's how you catch an aggressive team out of position, when they just want to put pressure on the puck. Quick puck movement, then suddenly you've got some open ice, and the Rangers are doing a little better job here in the second period.
Stepan. Kreider goes to the inside. Jesper Fast to the outside. Stepan against Gaustad. Stepan gets to it. Checked there by Ekholm. Watson, number 51 there as well. Gaustad. Ellis moved it up the boards out of the zone. Rangers send it right back in. A lot more offensive zone time here in the second for the Rangers. Ekholm fires it up the boards. That's blocked by Dan Boyle. Stepan plays it back. Yandel. Boyle circles back with Gaustad on the forecheck for Nashville. Past the midway point, second period. Game tied 1-1. Nashville with a power play goal in the first. Kreider was stopped by Ekholm. And then Jesper Fast tied it here in the second. Puck missed by Kevin Klein. Eric Nystrom gets to it. Stepan back. Gaustad with a hit on Stepan. Around the boards. Played by Arvidsson. That shot got through. Saved by Lundqvist. Trying to find it. Got help from Derek Stepan.
Tough save with Nystrom screening in front.
Nashville takes it back. Lead to Arvidsson. Check there. Good job by Stepan. Around the boards. Out to Jones. Moving, shooting. Good block in front by Klein. Rangers break out. Yandel sends a bouncer toward Rinne. Jones around to Jackman. Ahead, stopped by Girardi. Trying to get it to Tanner Glass. He got hit a little high. Zuccarello out to Girardi. He's got room. Takes the shot and it's blocked in front. And that hurt Barrett Jackman. He went down hard and is still on his knees trying to get up. Rangers have the puck. And Jackman is now up on one leg.
Yeah, but the Rangers have control of the puck. That's why there's no whistle.
Zuccarello moves in. He was slowed down by Wilson. Goes around the net. Drops it back. McDonough fake. Shoots. Blocked in front. Here's Zuccarello.
Jackman can still hardly stand.
Girardi blocked by Colin Wilson, but able to keep it in. Zuccarello with Jones on him. Jones takes it away. Up the boards. Girardi with another good play. Here's Zuccarello for Nash. And Jones broke it up and breaks out with it and dumps it deep. So the Nashville Predators get out of trouble as Barrett Jackman is able to finally get to the bench. Brassard, 7:35 to go in the second. Zuccarello fires it around the boards. Shea Weber goes to get it. Now Klein and Mark Stahl.
Barrett Jackman, meanwhile, being helped to the Predators' locker room.
Ooh, I thought that was a hook on Forsberg. He got the stick in the midsection of Brassard. Brassard yelled to the referee. Didn't get any hearing from him. Save with a blocker by Rinne on the shot by Brassard. Stahl is in deep, tied up with Craig Smith. Good job by Oscar Lindberg on Roman Josi. That puck deflects in the air, bounces down, and Shea Weber able to carry it out. Now Forsberg, that's stopped by Dan Boyle, but it deflected to Greg Smith, and he was able to play it into the Rangers zone. 6:40 to go, second period, tied 1-1. Played up the boards by Miller. Pass for Hayes, off the boards to Dan Boyle. 3-on-1 down low. Boyle shoots, save, Rene. Kreider's got the puck. Kreider kept it alive. That's batted up in the air, knocked down by Hayes, shot blocked. Ellis able to get it out to Wilson, joins the rush. Wilson leaves it for Ribeiro, into the middle, Neal, he scores! Ribeiro's such a good passer, and he found the right man, James Neal, and Nashville regains the lead, 2-1.
Well, Boyle has the first chance for the Rangers. Good save by Pekka Rinne. He just fights it off. And then eventually, coming the other way, Hayes gets knocked down as his shots get blocked, and here they come, 4 of them on the offense. And the trailer was Neal. And he can finish from there. He's got that quick wrist shot. And so the turnover at the far end. And then James Neal is the 4th Predator up the ice. And finishes the play to give the Predators a 2-1 lead.
Leading goal scorer on the Predators, James Neal with his 14th. 13:48, the time of the goal. Ribeiro with the setup. Will get one of the assists. Stepan back for it. Jarnkrok was on him. Fost got it through, and it's lifted out by Girardi. After it is Kreider. Ekholm puts it in the Rangers zone. Icing waved off. McDonough plays it to Girardi. Up the boards, blocked by Ekholm, who bats it across the ice. And Jesper Fast gets to it. Kalle Jarnkrok sends it in. Neal gets the goal from Ribeiro and Colin Wilson at 13:48. And the Predators lead for the second time in the game.
Ribeiro's always been an outstanding playmaker. He finds the open man, and he found Neal with that pass.
Good play by Stolberg. Stolberg, Moore, and Glass on the ice. Fisher. Lundqvist stops it. Around the glass, and Moore was tripped up. Penalty upcoming. First penalty of the game on Nashville. Rangers get a power play with 5:04 to go in the second period. Colin Wilson goes off.
Lead. It was a turnover in the Predator zone, and then what happens? You get 2 Rangers right here. They get caught, so it's a 4-on-3 going the other way. Now keep an eye right there in the middle on JT Miller. He's in the right position, then he thinks he can make a play on the puck. He can't. That gives Neal a little bit more time, and you give him that kind of time, and Neal can finish off his 14th of the year. And then here's the penalty. Wilson takes the penalty, and so the Rangers get their first power play of this game, trailing by a goal.
Wilson for tripping at 14:56. Rangers are 4th on the power play in the league. Power play is brought to you by Volkswagen. McDonough, Zuccarello, Brassard, Nash, and Boyle for the power play. Zuccarello to Nash. Quick shot. Saved by Rinne. And it's cleared all the way down.
One of the reasons why the Rangers' power play has been better has been Dan Boyle. When Stepan went down, Boyle was put into a different position. They needed a spark, and he's done a lot of right things. Shooting the puck, making plays.
This is a strange number. Nashville is 29th in the league penalty killer.
Well, and one of the reasons why Fisher was out, and so they missed him as a penalty killer. And this is a very, very aggressive penalty killing scheme that Nashville uses. And if you move the puck quickly, there's a lot of players that can be open, especially your point men.
There's Brassard getting into the zone. Quick shot saved by Rinne. Looks to play it himself. It's blocked by Brassard, but then it's cleared by Fisher. Under 4 minutes to go in the second period. 45 seconds to go in the power play. Yandel has come on with Kreider. Ryder tried to play it in. It was stopped and cleared out. Stepan, Miller, Kreider, Hayes, and Yandel. Second unit has 4 forwards, 1 defenseman. Here comes Kevin Hayes. He's met there by Järnkrok, moves around him. Now Derek Stepan, Keith Yandel. Yandel gets it back. Stepan turns, shoots, save Rinne, and rebound loose. Hayes shoots wide. Yandel around the boards. Josi after it. Kreider knocked it away, but it's brought out of the zone by Järnkrok.
Well, what a chance for Hayes.
Järnkrok with a shot off the chest of Lundqvist.
You know, Sam, when you haven't scored a goal in a long time, don't try to be too cute. Just try and get it on the net, which maybe he did, but again, he missed the net.
Power play is over. And Nashville maintains a 2-1 lead. That played all the way back as an icing on the Predators with 2:44 to go here in this second period.
Yeah, for Rick Nash, he had 2 shots in the first period. He's had at least another 3 in this one. This is a strong move by Nash. Right side of your screen. He'll just take it hard to the net, gets 1 chance. Pekka Rinne is able to make that one, and then there's a good save and good job by the Rangers getting in. That was Kreider that got in and forced the loose puck, but Hayes with that chance in that scoring position misses the net, and that allows Nashville to clear the zone.
Rangers had 3 shots on goal on their power play. Nashville 1 for 1 on their power play. Rangers 0 for 1 on theirs. 2-1 Nashville leading. 2.5 minutes to go second period. Dominic Moore lifts it ahead, batted down by Mike Fisher. Rangers take it back. Lindberg. Fisher checks in. Long shot saved by Rinne. The rebound chopped away by Fisher. He went down behind the net. Foss plays it off the boards to Dominic Moore. Back for Jesper Fast and now Oscar Lindberg. Fast is tied up by Jones, excuse me. Played out to Mark Stahl. Long shot blocked in front by Mike Fisher. Brought the other way, Arvidsson. Backhander that's off the glove of Lundqvist. Left it for Fast. And at 50 to go.
Yeah, this is the shift. Lindberg on one side, Fast on the other, and then in the middle was Moore.
Well, the long shift on the power play for Hayes. Save on Josi by Lundqvist. The rebound was missed. And then a collision between Josi and his forward shot by Hayes. By Nash. A save by Rinne. It got behind him and was cleared out of the crease.
Järnkrok saved a goal.
And another save by Rinne. Rangers getting chances. Rinne with a couple of tough saves. 1:16 to go in the second. Still 2-1 Nashville.
The Rangers nearly tie this game. Some real good pressure against Pekka Rinne. The Rangers took advantage of the fact that 2 Predators collided behind the net. There's 1 save, and then you see that puck get through him. Nash got the shot, and then Järnkrok comes behind Rinne, who has no idea that that puck was sliding past him, whether it had enough to get into the net. Not sure, but then again, right at the end, good play by Klein. And he tries to score on his best buddy from this team. Pekka Rinne and Kevin Klein, real good friends from all their time here.
Long-time friends. Started in the minors. Shot by Josi. Oh, that snuck through, but wide of the net. Weber plays it in front. Yandel cleared to the side. Under a minute to go in the second period. Weber through to Josi. Josi back the other way. Saved by Lundqvist. He robbed Gaustad. Gaustad, who doesn't have a goal this season. There's 2 points, which is surprising. Only 2 points.
What a save that was. Again, it was Josi and Weber combining to set up Gaustad for the chance.
30 seconds to go in the second period. Each team with a goal here in the second. Nashville with a 2-1 lead. Stahl has trouble with Craig Smith. Ribeiro takes it for Smith. Tees it up toward the net. Blocked by Stepan. Stepan has dropped back, looking like a defenseman several times in this period. Shot by Ellis. Saved by Lundqvist. And it's cleared out. Whoa, Nashville with a couple of great chances. Lundqvist comes up big. Got help from Derek Stepan. Period comes to a close. Rangers tied the game on a deflection and a goal by Jesper Fast. And then Nashville regained the lead on a goal by that man, James Neal, to make it 2-1, end of 2.
Yeah, well, the Rangers were better in this period. They had 14 shots in the second period as opposed to 6 in period number 1. I thought they moved the puck quicker, were a little bit faster with the way they were making plays. Their offensive zone pressure was better, and they forced Pekka Rinne to have a much busier second period.
Rangers head off. Coming up, it's the New York Lottery Intermission Report. John Giannone rejoins us. His special guest, Dan Girardi, just returning to the lineup. Back in New York, Bill Pito has the Audi MSG 150 and a look at the World Junior Championships. Tough loss for the USA today. He'll look at the highlights of that. And Ron Duguay and Anson Carter have highlights and analysis on the New York Lottery Intermission Report coming up next.
The New York Rangers Intermission Report is presented by the New York Lottery. Get out and play.
Glad you're with us for New York Rangers hockey. New York Rangers hockey on MSG is presented by Chase. Now, time to find out what the Rangers coaches are thinking. John Giannone has the info. John.
Yeah, Sam, I talked to assistant coach Joel Samuelson. He said, we're doing quite a few things well that we're happy about. He said, our work ethic is there. At times, we're spending a lot of offensive zone time against what he called one of the best defenses in the NHL. But he did say, it's not a terrible road game, but I'd like to see us with more scoring chances, and we have to try to play a little bit quicker. I feel we're going to come out here with a strong push in the first 5 minutes. When I said, how do you create more scoring chances against that defense? He said, if you don't get in on their D, they are so mobile and so good with the puck that it's hard to contain them in open ice. He mentioned Yossi, and he mentioned Jones as well. He mentioned Ellis. He said, we have to make sure we come up the ice as a group of 5 as quickly as we can to take away their options. That's what he says he wants to see in the third period, guys.
Thanks, John.
Good stuff, John.
Thoughts, Joe?
Well, I thought the Rangers were better in that area in the second period. Just they had the puck a little bit more. They had a little bit more offensive zone time than they had in the first. And they seem to figure out a little bit what Nashville was trying to do as a team. And they're going to have to be even better here in this third period.
All right, important third period underway. Rangers step on Kreider and Fast, McDonough and Girardi. Ekholm up the boards to Craig Smith and the outlet to Philip Forsberg. Forsberg scored Nashville's first goal, a power play goal late in the first period. Wraparound try by Smith and a save by Lundqvist. Good play by Craig Smith. Barrett Jackman is back on the bench and seems to be okay.
He's a tough guy. He's always played with a lot of grit and determination. You go back to the 02-03 season, which was his rookie season in the National Hockey League. He won the Calder as the best rookie, only the 9th defenseman to do so. He played with Al MacInnis. You know the runner-up that year, Sam? The 2 runners-up?
Yeah.
Rick Nash was number 2 in the voting, and Henrik Zetterberg of Detroit was number 3. That's the kind of season. That's the kind of season that Barrett Jackman had. But he had Al MacInnis as his partner, which really helped the Hall of Famer.
That's pretty impressive, no matter what.
Sure is.
Al MacInnis didn't get the award. Barrett Jackman did. Good for him. Wow. James Neal. The go-ahead goal. Good play by Kevin Klein. That shot got through, stopped by Lundqvist. The boards. Weber comes in to try and play it. Nash was there. Yandel able to work it loose. There's Brassard.
Rangers have 20 shots on goal in this game. 6 of those by Rick Nash.
Weber around to Yossi. Brassard on him. Then Zuccarello. Bouncing puck. James Neal turns. Into the corner. Valimaki was able to play back. That goes by Mike Fisher. Yandel clears it out of the zone. Picked up. And it's whistled down for a hand pass against the Rangers. 1:19 gone by here in the third period. United by Blue. Game day and every day. Experience the official Rangers app to connect to breaking news, enhanced calendar, and a whole lot more. It's a great app. You want to get it as soon as you can. Barrett Jackman is on the ice now.
He and Seth Jones have been partners since day one of training camp.
Smart move. With the veteran with the youngster.
That's what they were
Let
looking
him learn.
for. Yeah.
Lindbergh with a good pass to Kevin Hayes. Down the middle goes J.T. Miller. Jackman broke it up.
Boy, Miller was open too. Just could not. Hayes couldn't get the puck through Jackman to the open Miller.
Lindbergh makes a nice move, and Jackman stopped him with a little help from Eric Nystrom.
Pretty good start to the period for Jackman.
He got bumped by Miller. Miller's bumped him a couple of times in this game. Puck deflected out of play.
And they're having a conversation. Jackman goes past Miller and stops, and they continue to talk. Yeah, they've been on the ice against each other often. Here's the hit again. It was not from behind. It was from the side. Jackman didn't like it nonetheless.
Joe, we've watched J.T. Miller since he came into the league as a rookie. He's filling out
strong.
physically. He's a strong man.
Yeah, he hits hard. And again, what he was saying the other day is that these last few weeks, he said, I've just decided that I'm going to be a player that's going to be noticeable every game. And he's done that in a number of different ways. If he's not scoring, he's done it physically. He's made some plays. He's scored some important goals for this team. And so he just keeps on developing as a player.
Puck deflected out of play. 2:03 gone by here in the third. Gaustad and Moore for the face-off. Moore, Glass, and Stahlberg the line for the Rangers, with Klein and Yandel paired on defense here. A couple of false starts, and the linesman says enough. Give me two other guys, Watson and Tanner Glass. And Watson plays it back to Jones. Kevin Klein goes to get it. Austin Watson after him. Watson, 18th player chosen overall in the 2010 draft. Seth Jones, hard off the boards. Watson gets shoved down by Glass, and the Rangers have the puck. Yandel trying to find Tanner Glass. Nystrom and Stahlberg. Stahlberg won that. The back pass. Girardi missed the shot. Tried to time that one-timer and missed it. Jackman.
Very good play, Sam, by Stahlberg, getting in quickly, using his size to get a hit, pry the puck loose, and then try to set up Girardi.
Ribeiro controlling the puck nicely. Good job. Pass back for Craig Smith. And Chris Kreider got a stick on that. There's Girardi and Jesper Fast. Fast has the Rangers goal. Philip Forsberg and James Neal, the Nashville goals. Here's Forsberg, double team. McDonough plays it out of the zone. Ellis back to Ekholm. And now Smith. Craig Smith carries in. Taken out by Boyle. Lundqvist feed to Boyle and around the other side for Zuccarello. Weber is there. Nash on the forecheck. Weber fires it out. Comes all the way back. Zuccarello back to get it. Now Boyle. Brassard to Zuccarello. On to Rick Nash. Offside. Nash went in. The puck was still outside the zone, or hadn't crossed the line. Nash did. 4 minutes gone by here in the third. Brassard questions the call.
He didn't like it. Let's see, did Nash have possession? You can skate in backwards if you have possession. You know what?
What do you think?
Close? No, I think he had possession.
Oh, okay.
See, if you have possession, you can skate in backwards, so your skates go over the blue line first, and then you carry the puck in, as long as obviously one of your line mates isn't offside.
Even if you're receiving
Even
a pass?
when you receive it, if you have possession of it, you can go in backwards with the puck coming in second after you're already in. again, as long as one of your teammates is not offside, and that is deemed a legal play.
Kevin Hayes pass tipped by Seth Jones. And brought out by Colin Wilson. Yandle trying to get back. He stumbled a little bit. Now he recovers and stops Wilson. Good recovery by Keith Yandle. Then he lost it momentarily. And the Rangers able to regain possession. Hayes got it to Yandle. That pass deflects into the Nashville zone off Arvidsson.
We played nearly 5 minutes. Rangers have yet to have a shot here in this third period. So you've got Nashville playing a little bit more conservatively, not quite as aggressively as they did in the first 2 periods.
Long pass to Barrett Jackman. There's a shot by Smith. Smith after Forsberg. Girardi is there with help from Dominic Moore. Moore got tripped up. No call on the play. Saved by Lundqvist. Here's Forsberg again. Fires and it deflects in. Lundqvist upset. And I thought that the officials may have missed a trip there, Joe.
Well, that was Forsberg that made that play, Sam, the one that you thought they missed. That was Forsberg, and then eventually Forsberg ends up with it. Now you got the coaching staff for the Rangers on the bench looking to see if there was goaltender interference. There's the play that was not called. That was Forsberg that made the play, and then he just ends up with the puck, goes around the net, and goes right off. I believe he went right off Moore's leg and then past him. And let's see. Well, there was, Lundqvist tries to come across with his stick, and it hits Smith. And so he tried to come across with his stick, but he couldn't because Smith was there. Now the question is, did he get pushed in? Did he get pushed in by Moore or not?
I think we may have a coach's challenge here.
I think it's the right play because you don't want to go down 2 goals to this team in the third period. So why not give it a shot? But there was no question. I think what they're going to look at is, did Smith go in on his own and interfere, or was he pushed in where he didn't have a choice? Here he is again. He gets tied up with Moore. He's in the crease, and there you see the stick of Lundqvist. Lundqvist is trying to come over, but his stick can't get there. And so right away he's saying, wait a second, I wasn't allowed to come across and try and make that save. He got his right leg over there on the post, but then his momentum was stopped as he tried to spin. And so now are they going to say that Smith went in on his own? Or are they going to say that he got pushed in by Moore?
The man in the headset is Mark Jonette. Chris Lee, number 28, alongside.
See, there's no question that there was contact between Moore. And so the contact was from the side by both players. I didn't think that. See, he didn't get really pushed from behind. He was going to that area when contact between the two of those players was made. I think this is a good challenge.
All right, the referee has the decision.
And then, of course, it goes off the leg of Moore past Lundqvist, who couldn't get the rest of his body over to the post. So I think the stick of Lundqvist and then also the stick of Smith got his stick up high on Lundqvist to make contact with, I think, Lundqvist's head at the time. So
that might have been after the puck went by him.
Yeah.
But I
still think that there's a good chance that this will get overturned, because I don't think you can argue that Smith tried to stop at the top of the crease and then was pushed in. I mean, his momentum was taking him there, and the two made contact more from the side. And again, there's Smith is going in. He skates in. That actually might have been the stick of Moore that catches Lundqvist in the head. But I think the big question is, could Smith have stopped and prevented himself from going into the crease?
Did he have to make an attempt to get out of the way of Lundqvist?
Well, I think you have to make an attempt certainly to get out so you don't interfere with him.
Right.
For sure.
And then they're taking a long time on this.
Yeah, well, the key is that they're all in the blue paint, which is the key to this. And again, I think they're trying to make a decision as to whether that could have been prevented Smith going into the crease or not, or whether he was pushed into Lundqvist.
All right, here comes Mark Jonette with the decision.
After review, it was determined that the Nashville player does put himself in position in the crease, not allowing the New York goalie to play his position. For that reason, the goal is disallowed.
There you go. You were right, Joe. The goal is overturned. That is a huge play for the Rangers.
And of course, Peter Laviolette's not probably going to like it. Not much of a reaction though from Peter. Maybe he just looked at it and said, "Yeah, I can understand it."
They're looking at on the video board, seeing exactly what we just saw. So it remains 2-1 Nashville. 5.5 minutes gone by here in the third period.
And of course, the Rangers retain their timeout because they were correct on the coach's decision there to have that looked at.
Ekholm stopped there by Jesper Fast, who winds it around the boards for Kreider. But a good play by Ellis kept it moving out of the zone. Neal trying to get around Yandel. James Neal left it along the boards for Ekholm. Gets it back, winds it deep. Kreider chips it out of the zone. Mattias Ekholm around the net, chased by Jesper Fast. Ekholm carries coast to coast. Saved by Lundqvist, rebound just wide. Ekholm with quite a play. Good rush up the ice by Mattias Ekholm. Almost resulted in a goal. Nash fires, deflected away and off the glass. Stahl trying to keep it in. Fisher the other way. 3-on-2 Nashville. Fisher looks. Feet across. Shot went wide by Josi. Into the crease. Still loose. Missed. Fisher shot blocked. Colin Wilson couldn't play it. Weber. That's blocked by Nash. Up in the air. Batted down by Boyle. Shot wide by Weber. Colin Wilson. Shea Weber turns down low. That was blocked. Fisher with a redirection.
Boy, long shift for the Rangers. It all started with Stahl getting caught up at the offensive blue line and Josi having a wonderful chance and missing the net.
Brassard trying to pry it loose against Colin Wilson. Weber keeps it in.
Stahl's stick was broken on the play by Ribeiro.
Turning and shooting is Josi. He scores! And again, Lundqvist complains to the referee.
Well, this might be another challenge because the stick on the deflection might have caught the glove of Lundqvist, which I think it did. And let's see. Well, so while Lundqvist is arguing, of course, the Ranger coaches will be looking again. This was a long, extended shift. There's where the stick of Stahl was broken by Ribeiro. And Ribeiro with that pass. Now, let's see. Does it catch the glove? There's no question the stick by Smith made contact with the glove. So Smith could be involved in another one here. Josi with the shot. Does it already go past him before there's contact with the stick and the glove? Was the puck past him before this happened? So Alain Vigneault saying, wait. He's saying, just wait. He's telling Hayes, don't go in and take the face off. So they're giving him time to take a look at it. Here it is again. The shot up high. It's hard to tell from that angle, but there was right there. It doesn't look like the stick may contact. But watch, let's see. This one should be better. Oh, you know what? Hit his glove first and went past, and then there was contact. I think that one counts.
Okay.
I think that one will count because it looked like Lundqvist got a piece of it first. He was trying to look through the screen of the stick. But that other replay we saw, here it is again. Let's see, does Lundqvist make contact first before the glove does? Lundqvist doesn't think so.
After review, decision on the ice stands. We have a good goal.
Yeah.
Now, that was not a coach's challenge. You only get one coach's challenge. That was, I think, reviewed for a possible
For a
high stick.
Yeah.
All right, so they retained the challenge, but
Right.
that was not a coach's challenge. I believe that was reviewed back in Toronto
Because
for
of
a
the
high stick.
possible high stick. Was it above the crossbar of the stick when it made contact? But Lundqvist again thought that there was contact with his glove on the play. There was, but the puck was already past him.
Craig Smith gets the goal on the deflection. Here's Kevin Hayes shooting, and it's tipped and goes high and wide. Josi and Ribeiro get the assist at 7:34. And Nashville now with a 3-1 lead. 11:40 to go, third period, and the Predators have a 2-goal lead. Cadillac trivia question: which two current NHL head coaches have played for the New York Rangers? We gave you the hint earlier. Peter Laviolette is one. The other is
#1 team in the league right now, Sam. Dallas Stars, Lindy Ruff.
There it is. Peter had a brief NHL career. Started with the Rangers.
Here's the play again. Let's see. Puck. I think it went off his glove first, as you could see Smith swinging. And so I guess the other argument that maybe Lundqvist might have had was that the stick was up high, so it had to be over the crossbar.
I think.
But I think it was the other first that he was interfered with is what I think his argument was.
Play whistled to a halt here. 11:31 to go, and
or
a penalty up to the Rangers. Dominic Moore going off. Here we go, Rangerstown. Limited individual game tickets are available for great seats. Be sure to visit NewYorkRangers.com. Rangers down by 2, will be shorthanded. More for hooking at 8:29. Nashville 1-for-1 on the power play. Forsberg got the goal earlier. Neal shoots, saved by Lundqvist. He covers up.
Boy, oh boy, Neal's got that great wrist shot. He's a left-handed shot that plays the right side at even strength as well. And so you see him snap in the second goal of the game for Nashville. That was another one. Lundqvist made a good save with his blocker.
Now, this is a critical point in the game here. Rangers must have a good kill here. Clearing attempt was blocked by Shea Weber.
They need a shorthanded goal. They haven't had one all season, and they're about due.
One of 4 teams in the NHL without a shorthanded goal.
Nash has had chances in this game, and he's out there now.
Roman Josi, now Philip Forsberg. Rangers have McDonough and Girardi with Nash and Stepan. Fisher to Neal. Neal took a hit. Josi to Weber. Quick pass across. Nashville moving the puck quickly. Josi. Forsberg to Josi. Pass, tried to get it through to Weber. Weber finally got it after it was tipped by Rick Nash. Josi with a shot, kicked away by Lundqvist. And taken away by Derek Stepan. Fires a short hopper on goal. Rene wanted to go out and play it. Rangers have brought on Jesper Fast, Mark Stahl, Kevin Klein. Klein checking Colin Wilson. And Victor Stallberg is on. Long shot, score! Wow. That was Ryan Ellis ripping that shot. We spent all the time talking about Josi and Weber, and Ellis joins the group with his shot.
Well, yeah, they finally leave the ice when they get it out. Now look at the quick puck movement. 1 pass, 2 passes, 3 passes in the net. None of those players had the puck on their stick for more than just a split second. Look at how quickly they moved the puck. Ryan Ellis is a 5th defenseman, let's say, for this team. He had 9 goals a season ago, and now he just scores his 4th. Another power play goal for Nashville.
Nashville 2 for 2 on the power play in the game. And the Rangers penalty killing has let them down. That's the 3rd time in the last 5 games that the Rangers have given up 2 power play goals. So the penalty killing, which a good portion of this season has been the strength of the Rangers, is now been guilty of giving up some goals.
Sometimes, Sam, you run into hot power plays and there's nothing you can do. And that's the way Nashville's has been.
Little payback. Barrett Jackman knocked down J.T. Miller. Stahl got to work it ahead for Tanner Glass. 9:10 to go in the 3rd. Nashville with 2 goals here in the 3rd period, and they lead it 4-1. Kalle Järnkrok moves in on Kevin Klein. Klein takes him. Stahl checking Salomaki. Glass missed it. Ekholm with a drive wide. The rebound wide. A save, and the rebound put in by James Neal. And there are those back-to-back goals happening to the Rangers again. 2 quick back-to-back. And it's 5-1 Nashville.
Well, and this is what they didn't do. This is a turnover. This is Dominic Moore, throws it up the middle and misses everybody. Ekholm steps into it. Now he's got time, and the Rangers scrambling around. And the puck movement, and Lundqvist doesn't have a chance on this one either. First one missed the net, and that's an easy little tap-in for James Neal. So 2 quick goals by Nashville have given them, suddenly it's a 4-goal game.
2 goals in a span of 55 seconds. And that is something that has happened frequently in recent weeks to the Rangers.
Well, the other thing, the Rangers have just 1 shot on goal in this period.
That's a 35-21 in favor of Nashville for the game. And after is Forsberg. So a 2-1 game into the 3rd period has turned into a 5-1 game for Nashville as they've blown it open.
J.T. Miller just got a stick up on Barrett Jackman. That's, again, something to keep an eye on. This Nashville team, 5th best in the league in shots against, 26.5. Rangers have 21.
7:53 to go in the 3rd. The Rangers down 5-1. Well, we are back. And don't miss the Rangerstown Rake in Westchester County's Winter Wonderland. Enjoy Rangers alumni appearances and activities this weekend. The January 3rd weekend. Visit NewYorkRangers.com for more information. Antti Ranta has come into the game, replacing Henrik Lundqvist, who gave up 5 goals on 35 shots. The Nashville Predators want to correct something I mentioned earlier. The 2 goals 4 and 5, came in a span of 1 minute 21 seconds. And the 3 goals came in a span of 3 minutes 39 seconds. 5-1 Nashville. Craig Smith scored at 7:34 from Josi and Ribeiro. Ryan Ellis power play goal from Seth Jones and Mike Ribeiro. And James Neal with a goal from Järnkrok and Salomaki. Neal's 2nd of the game and 15th of the season. That's tipped ahead by Nash. And I think Joe, we've seen this repeatedly. The bad third period and these back-to-back goals in short time span.
Well, as good as the Rangers were against Anaheim.
Oh, this. And the Rangers answer back on the giveaway.
Yep.
Rinne out of position, and the Rangers score to make it 5-2.
That'll be unassisted by Rick Nash. Rinne tried to make a play up the middle of the ice. Rinne is a very good puck-handling goaltender. He plays the puck with a lot of confidence, likes to come out, and he'll hold on to it under pressure. And this time he's well out of the net, top of the screen, tries to go right up the middle, and Rick Nash knocks it down, has the empty net, and that makes it 5-2.
Rick Nash with his 11th goal of the season and his 100th as the New York Ranger. That puck goes off the glass and out of play.
And Sam, just to finish your point a little bit earlier, the Rangers gave up those 6 scoring chances against Anaheim. It's been a little bit different in this one.
Time for our Timberland Pro Hard Hits Highlights show.
Well, both teams have come out at times. They have tried to play physically to turn things around. We've seen J.T. Miller involved with Barrett Jackman the entire game. They've been on the ice against each other often, and neither of them have passed up an opportunity to get a good lick in on the other one.
Nash gets the goal. It's unassisted at 13:20. Making it a 5-2 game. Klein lost his edge, went down. Salomaki had it knocked away, deflects into the Rangers bench with 6:12 remaining. Second time in the last 3 games Nashville has scored 5 goals in a game. Gotten a good team effort. James Neal with a couple of goals.
Yeah.
Ribeiro's made some good passes. Ribeiro with a 3-assist game.
They just recently put Ribeiro back together with Forsberg. They were together most of last season. They finished 1-2 in scoring. 63 points last season for Forsberg, 62 for Ribeiro. And they've been off and on together this season as Peter Laviolette's tried to find some balance in his scoring. So he split them up at times. Just as we've seen Alain Vigneault do the same with his top line. And they've been back together lately, and they've been their best line.
Hayes controlling, long shot glove by Rinne, and he holds it. 5:38 to go. Third period, the Rangers down by 3. DraftKings brings us our DraftKings Spotlight on Kevin Klein with Nashville, 403 games, 16 goals, a -27 in 120 games with the Rangers, 13 goals, a +39. When he was out, Rangers went 3-6-2. Play daily fantasy hockey on DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of the New York Rangers. Nashville defense, we talked about the points they put up this season. 4 more points tonight. A goal and 3 assists. 13 shots on goal for the Nashville defense.
Ties them with Dallas now for the league lead.
Girardi shot blocked by Yossi. Nash all over Roman Yossi. Double teamed by Zuccarello. Eric Nystrom skates it clear. Another thing that's gone on in this recent stretch with the Rangers had been, last year they were the best road team in the league. They got off to a good start on the road this year, 5-1-1. They have not won a game in their last 7 road games, and this one is not looking good.
Sam, when you get to a point where you get away from playing solid defensive hockey, the way the Rangers have played the last number of years, you get away from that. Doesn't matter where you play, and if your goaltender isn't all world like Lundqvist was the first 21 games, the goals against average for the Rangers was about 1.8 per game. But the games following that, it was 3.5. That's a huge turnaround. That's almost 2 goals a game difference in the way the Rangers played. And there's, again, you can look at injuries, you can look at just the way they played. It was sloppy, goaltending wasn't quite as good. You throw in all those factors, and it's hard to win no matter where you play.
This is an icing on Nashville. Take a look at the keys to the game, brought to you by GMC. See the pros nearest you to test drive one of their award-winning trucks, crossovers, or SUVs today. GMC, we are professional grade. Philip Forsberg, power play goal, got it started for Nashville. He's got a 5-game point streak. James Neal, 2 assists, leads Nashville with 15 goals. Mike Ribeiro, 3 assists and a +2 in the game. Shot by Miller, he scores! And with 3:58 remaining in the third period, it's a 5-3 game.
Right off the faceoff, and the Rangers through 2 periods had only won 41% of their faceoffs, but they get some help here. Chris Kreider does a nice job getting in to help out when Derek Stepan took the faceoff, and Miller just comes around. So that's Kreider that goes from the middle right to the dot to help out Stepan, and finds Miller, and Miller with a quick wrist shot just inside the post. And so the Rangers close it to within 2 with still 4 minutes remaining in the game.
There's some life. There's still life. Need another quick one. Brassard, Zuccarello, and Nash. Girardi and McDonough. It's a 5-3 game. Rangers have scored the last 2 goals. Zuccarello tried to get it to Brassard. It's through to Nash. Nash broke his stick as he chipped the puck into the zone. McDonough, Fisher on him, rides him to the boards. Puck set up. Colin Wilson tried to get it to Arvidsson. Wilson winds it deep. Fisher checked by McDonough. Arvidsson has it. Girardi on him. Kreider left it for Brassard. Brassard dumps it in from the red line. Miller is back on. Kreider is on. Brassard has remained on. And to the bench goes Antti Raanta. Rangers net is empty.
Not quite. Now he goes. He stopped at the top of the circle and then decided to go.
Wanted to make sure the white jerseys had the puck. Brassard behind the net. That's blocked by Salavaki. And it deflected off the glass, out of play. Face off of the Nashville zone with 2:46 remaining. Rangers still have their timeout because they won that coach's challenge.
That puck hit Miller, by the way. That's why the face-off is coming outside the zone.
Miller's 8th goal of the season. Stepan with the assist at 16:02. Derek Stepan's first point since coming back from injury.
I know, Sam, you had to go to Tampa Bay and do a football game, but you missed the flight with the team where Ryan McDonough's grandmother, Molly Walsh, just made the greatest chocolate chip cookies. I was gonna save you one, but by the time I got there were only a couple left, and then there were a few other hands in there as well.
Now I really feel bad about
you
that.
You missed out. Keep doing that football, Sam. You missed out on things like this.
Raanta goes to the bench. Rangers net is empty. 2:20 to go. Rangers down by 2. Miller in the corner. Up for Yandel. Takes the shot. Save. Rush. Saved by Rinne. There's a rebound.
That hit something.
Cleared it out.
That looked like it. It deflected and hit Rinne in the right arm or shoulder. Yeah, that could have really made things interesting.
Just under 2 minutes to go. Kreider carries in, dumps it down the boards. Ekholm swings it around, and it's out of the zone. Race for the puck. Arvidsson and Yandel. Arvidsson negated an icing. Sets up Fisher. Shot blocked by Stepan. Miller shoved to the boards by Colin Wilson. Tries to move the puck. Kreider taken away by Fisher. Feeds Arvidsson. Shot blocked by Yandel.
He waited a long time. Arvidsson took the big windup. By that time, Yandel got over and made the defensive play.
Stepan faked the part around the board, shot it on goal. It was gloved by Rinne with 1:21 to go.
Now the Rangers nearly made it a 1-goal game. Here's the shot. Kreider's in front, and he gets a piece of that. You could see Rinne moving to his left, and he actually makes the save, I believe, with the right arm or shoulder. Kreider going in front. Oh no, the right pad. Pardon me. So that with 2 minutes to go. Gaustad, one of the best face-off men in the league, has been for a number of years, will take this face-off against Moore.
Moore, the Rangers' best. And Brassard gets it to Klein, back to Derek Brassard, looking pass across, quick shot, is blocked by Roman Josi. Kept in by Zuccarello. Soccer style play. In front, Brassard, he fakes, trying to drag it into the middle, but Weber stayed with him. Saved by Rene on the shot by Dominic Moore. 1 minute to go in the third. Klein shoots wide off the end boards. Zuccarello. Zuccarello looks toward the net. Nash set up in front. McDonough to Zuccarello for the shot. Wide. Around the boards, kept in by McDonough. 45 seconds. Zuccarello. Toward the net. Wide. Around the board, stopped by Brassard. Deep to Zuccarello. Pass in front. And it was a save by Rene and cleared out of the crease. 30 seconds to go. Klein. Now Brassard. Nash, side of the net. Saved by Rene. Got the stick on it. Clearing attempt was missed by Weber. Then it's lifted out by Järnkrok. 15 seconds to go. Rangers will run out of time. Well, they tried to mount a comeback, but too far. The hole was too deep. 5-3 is the final. And the team split the season series. Rangers won in New York 3-0. Nashville wins here 5-3. Pekka Rinne's 15th win of the season. And for Nashville, they've won 3 of their last 4. And for the Rangers, the struggles continue. They are winless in their last 8 road games.
And Sam, they started that third period in a slow fashion. It took them a long time to get their first shot. Nashville came into the third period, and I thought they were a little bit more defensive-minded to start the period. And then, of course, those quick goals really turned the tide for the Rangers. There's 3 goals in just over 3 minutes. And the Rangers, you know, they fought back valiantly, but that's a long way to come back against a Nashville team that's good defensively.
It was a 2-1 game into the third. Nashville then scored 3 unanswered goals, made it 5-1. Rangers got it to 5-3. Stay tuned. We've got complete post-game coverage coming up with Mercedes-Benz Rangers post-game. Bill Pito will anchor in New York with Ron Duguay and Anson Carter. John Giannone will work the locker room. We'll hear from the players. We'll hear from head coach Alain Vigneault. Joe Micheletti and Dave Maloney will have their analysis all coming up on Mercedes-Benz Rangers postgame. We'll come back, check things out, look at the goal of the game, the stars of the game,